week on Game, it's Diablo. Schmiablo, as a fragate gives Torchlight 2 a going over. We chat up a man who knows firsthand the evils of gaming. And it's a look at the top games we'll be playing soon. Hold on to your pantyhose, it's all here on Game. Hey guys, welcome to another feature-filled edition of Game, Asia's favourite weekly gaming show. Paula here, filling in for Kelly while our resident Pixel Princess is away this week. There's lots to get through on this episode as we tear through the latest and greatest in the world of interactive entertainment, so let's keep them up to a minimum. Before we get into the meat and bones, time to check in on all the latest goss from the gaming grapevine. These are the headlines. Kicking off with a little shooty bang bang, waiting patiently for the new Medal of Honor. Well, if you've got an Xbox 360 just gagging for a go with the new Warfighter, looks like you are in for a treat. Come early October, 360 gamers will be able to access the beta for a whole lot of multiplayer fun before the game's official release. Featuring 12 different factions of Tier 1 units like the Russian Spetsnaz, the US Navy SEALs, and of course the British SAS, to name a few. You'll also get to try a hand at a new map as Sarajevo Stadium in Bosnia gets the multiplayer treatment. And what's more, players who sign up for the beta will get 60 minutes of double XP. And if 3 million users sign up, Faux Rockers Linkin Park will release a new music video. Hooray. Over on the mobile front, looking to invest in a new handset? Well, if you like your games, it may be worth asking if that new phone is PlayStation certified. Now, Sony is putting the finishing touches on PSM, or PlayStation Mobile, a software framework that will be used to provide downloadable content to all PlayStation certified devices. Hoping to create its own niche in the mobile marketplace, certified Android phones and tablets will soon be able to access a wealth of content from the PSM marketplace. At launch, Sony estimates there to be as many as 30 games available for purchase, with prices as low as 99 cents. And finally, on the games front, PC gamers looking for a chance to slip into the skin-tight jeans of Dante may soon be in luck. Capcom has announced their upcoming hack-and-slash DMC Devil May Cry will be coming to the PC after all. However, the development of the PC version will be handled by a third party, namely developers Q-Lock, known for their excellent PC ports of both Super Street Fighter 4 and the more recently released Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Unfortunately, though, all this porting takes time, so PC gamers will have to wait a little longer, but no worries, the game is still set to hit sometime in 2013. Oh, looking cool, Mr. D. Okay, if you're one of the fans who've yet to come to terms with Dante's new emo look, it may be worth noting that the developers actively wanted Dante's makeover to provoke a reaction. Whatever it is, the new art style looks to be doing wonders for the title, and of course, we'll be bringing you more from DMC closer to the game's release. But first, it is time now to check in with Frags, who's been locked away in a dungeon of sorts. Okay, his bedroom. Now, for the last week, our game guru has been busy chipping away at the newest action role-playing game out on PCs, a possible Diablo killer. Well, let's see what he thought of Torchlight 2.
What's up, gamers, and welcome to yet another edition of Play with me, Fraggy. Now, in today's game and review, time to spend some time with one of the most anticipated PC role-playing game releases of the year. This is Torchlight 2. An action RPG, this title will no doubt draw comparisons to Blizzard's recently released Diablo 3, and for good reason. You see, Torchlight 2 is, funnily enough, the sequel to 2009's Torchlight, a game which was actually made by some ex-Blizzard employees. Now, usually I try to stay away from using games as a yardstick for comparison, but both Diablo 3 and Torchlight 2 have a bunch of things in common. First off, both games use an isometric viewpoint, meaning all the action takes place from one camera angle. Secondly, maps and dungeons in both games are randomly generated, making for a unique experience on each playthrough. And finally, this is key, central to both games is loot, gamer speak for all the items that you pick up. So, we've covered what's the same but for gamers a little on the fence. What are the major differences? And more importantly, is the game worth the money? Or is it just some forgettable Diablo clone? Well, sit back as we put Torchlight 2 under the microscope to find out. Now, one of the key strengths I found playing through Torchlight 2 was the sheer amount of content available for gamers who are willing to put in the grind time. The game comes with 4 classes: the Engineer, a heavy close combat fighter able to command a few robotic bots in battle; the Outlander, a ranged combat class dealing damage from a distance; the Berserker, a savage fighter who can summon spirit animals; and the Ember Mage, who's your basic spellcasting unit. Now, each of these classes has 30 unique skills which can be upgraded as you level up.
You've become more skillful.
And what I really liked was the variety, because depending on how you choose to play, there are a ton of options for every playstyle, which I thought was great. In addition, as far as bullet points go, Torchlight 2 seems to address many of the issues gamers were complaining about when Diablo 3 launched. Firstly, if you found D3 a little on the slow side, Torchlight 2 is definitely faster, with a heavier focus on keeping the action flowing, especially when it comes to dealing with huge groups of enemies. Unique in TL2, we've got the inclusion of pets, who not only help you carry stuff, but can be sent back to town to gather supplies for you while you're away. You know, a great help. But I think the feature, the lack of a feature which really sets Torchlight 2 apart from Diablo 3 is the auction house, or in the case of TL2, the lack of an auction house. You see, when Diablo 3 was released, one of the major complaints came because of the real money auction house used by Blizzard. Now, what this new system did was allow players to buy and sell weapons in-game, effectively turning one of the world's most popular action role-playing games into a sort of eBay simulator with dungeons. Now, in Torchlight 2, things are a little more old school, in the sense that you actually have to, loot your loot, as in you pick it up instead of buying it from someone. For all it's got going for it, TL2 will not be for everyone. Firstly, you're gonna have to know what you're getting into. This is a game all about the art of the loot grind. It's the same basic premise all the way through. Kill monsters, pick up stuff. Equip stuff, then you go kill bigger monsters. And even though the game really never gets boring because of the fast pace of combat and such, repetition is a big part of Torchlight 2. The loot system is also a little annoying, making you pick up every single item before you can identify it. This makes comparing the stats on items a pain and can really slow down the pace of the game. And finally, as someone who spent more than 200 hours on Diablo 3, I was kind of spoiled by the ability to quickly try out different builds. In Torchlight 2, trying new builds involves players having to redo the game from the start, which, can be a pain.
I think this is as far as I can go.
Some gamers may enjoy the permanent nature of the system, but for me, one of the things which I really miss from D3 was the ability to quickly reconfigure my character, something which you really can't do in Torchlight 2. If you're one of the many Blizzard fans who are a little jaded at Diablo's latest offering, Torchlight 2 is a welcome, if not altogether different game to add to your collection. It's like a refined list of all the things that action role-playing game fans want, with a great collection of quests, locations, and, of course, monsters. Now, its cartoony look and presentation may fall flat when you compare it to Blizzard's multi-million seller, but when it comes to the gameplay, Torchlight 2 actually feels like it's got a lot more in common with Diablo 2 than Blizzard's own Diablo 3. Top value at just $20, Torchlight 2 comes highly recommended.
Wand waving and magic making done with friends. Oh, you heard the man. So if you're one of those fed up with Blizzard's current strategy of nickel and diming you at every corner, this budget price title sounds like just the pickup. Off for a break now, but when we return, we'll blow your mind with a first look at amazing free-to-play shooter, and we have a sit-down with the granddaddy of all survivor horror games. It's a chat with the man behind Resident Evil 6. All that and more right here on Game.
Our world is at war. The very people who claim to protect it leave a trail of death and desolation in their wake. Blackwood must be stopped. We'll strike them down in the Balkans, where their weapon harvesting threatens to place nuclear warheads into the worst hands imaginable. We'll strike at the beating heart of their operation, fighting to end their ruthless profiteering in the Middle East. We'll strike at the favelas, where Blackwood's boundless evil makes no distinction between human life and scientific subjects. Wherever this war leads us, whatever we must sacrifice, we will fight as though death has darkened our very own doorstep. For tomorrow, it could.
Wow, some amazing graphics right there. I swear, that new engine they're using looks amazing, doesn't it? It makes it hard to believe Warface is free to play. Check it out, warface.com. Anyway, earlier this week, the game team had the chance to sit down for a chat with Mr. Hiroyuki Kobayashi. You don't recognize the name? Well, I'm sure you recognize his work. Sending shivers down your spine since 1996, it's a look at Resident Evil.
Originally released all the way back in 1996, Resident Evil, or Biohazard as the game was known in Japan, was one of the first survival horror video games. A series born during the heydays of the CD-ROM PlayStation era, the Resident Evil games managed to scare the pants off a whole generation of gamers who had previously been fed on a diet of Mario and Sonic, selling a whole bunch of PlayStations in the process and showing the gaming world just what could be done on consoles with all this new technology. But over the years, the series has gone through several revisions, moving further and further away from its roots of shock and horror into more action game territory. So, to see what changes we can expect from the latest title in the franchise, we caught up with none other than the executive producer of Resident Evil 6, Mr. Hiroyuki Kobayashi, to find out more.
もう本当に15年以上やってる作品なんですけど、このレジデント・イーブルの世界で、この世の中と同じようにいろんな出来事が起きてます、世界中でテロが起きているとか、それに対して活躍するいろいろ部隊だったり主人公たちがいるっていうのが、どんどん時間軸もゲームの中で進んでいって、本当に主人公たちが活躍する流れをどんどん作っていけれるので、シリーズとしてはまだまだ先は続けれるんじゃないかなと思っています。今回6のですね敵はゾンビが復活でいて、さらにジャーボという敵です。ジャーボは攻撃されるとかどんどん変形してきますので、いろいろ変化する敵としてプレイヤーたちを襲いかかってきます。今回やっぱり4の主人公のレオン、5の主人公クリス、本当に新キャラクターのジェイクと、いろんなキャラクターが出てくるんですけど、やっぱりそのファンとしてそれぞれのキャラクターたちが今後どうなっていくかっていうところの最新作として、2013年を舞台した6が、ファンの皆さんにはすごく楽しめる内容になっていると思います。ホラーの要素を、増やすためにですね、例えばゾンビから襲われた時に、ゾンビの攻撃をかわしながら、攻撃することによってよりホラーとしての襲い方ですねがバリエーションができるので、それをするために動きながら撃った方がよりホラーとして面白くなるから動けるようにしました。レジェンド・イブル6はですね、シリーズ最高傑作になってます。本当にレオン、クリスをはじめすごい人気キャラクター、そして新キャラクターのジェイク、その他たくさんのキャラクターが、活躍する本当にハリウッド級の超大作、アクションムービーになってます。本当に初めての人でも、楽しめるようになってますので、ぜひ皆さん遊んでみてください。
Resident Evil 6.
So, let me get this straight. You can run and shoot at the same time now. It'll be interesting to see how this newfound focus on action affects the whole horror element of the series. I thought the whole point of horror games is to make the character feel weak and vulnerable. It's kind of hard to feel scared when you're behind a huge machine gun. Whatever it is, RE6 looks great, and it's coming out this week too. Yay! Okay, it is time for a short burst of commercials, but stay with us because when we come back, we catch up with our old friend Isaac Clarke in the dead of space, and the future's so bright we just had to bring blades. It's our look forward in our preview, The Big Bang. Stay with us on Game.
commanding officer at Way Station Romeo. They began reacting to bright lights, retreating to the dark corners. They were my friends and colleagues not so long ago.
Turn it off.
Hey, Isaac!
Turn it
Isaac? Carver, what's going on?
Hey!
The markers have to be stopped. And all the clues lead here.
Jesus. Coffins everywhere. Looks like some kind of a funeral. Execution. Bloodstains on the wall ahead, Hyde.
That's no good.
They're here. Which means they're everywhere. Get a weapon for everyone. It's happening again. Everyone's dying around me.
We're the only hope of saving our entire race. There is no hope, Isaac.
This is do or die. We're stuck without your help. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Now, to those who are wondering, both Isaac Clarke and Carver will be back in Dead Space 3, so look out for them when the game releases in February next year. Okay, it is that time of the show where we peer into our in no way cliched gaming crystal ball. It's a peek at some of the biggest titles headed your way in the months to come. This is The Big Bang.
In this edition of The Bang, tons more wub wub as we take an everyday glimpse into the life of John 117, better known to you and I as Master Chief, showing us just how he unwinds after a hard day at work. These are the latest shots from Halo 4. Now, in this latest bit of multiplayer footy, we take a look at the latest Covenant weaponry that players will have access to. No surprises here as far as weapon announcements, but making a welcome return will be fan favorites like the Needler, the armor-destroying plasma pistol, and even the mighty fuel rod cannon, not to mention a few sticky grenades thrown in for good measure. Now, interestingly enough, even though Covenant weapons are aplenty, the Covenant themselves don't appear to play a very big role in Halo 4. Instead, your enemies this time will be a race known as the Prometheans, warrior servants of the ancient Forerunners. Set in an all-new world called Requiem, Part 4 is poised to mark the birth of a new trilogy in the franchise. So look out for Halo 4 to hit sometime in November. Up next, get ready to return to the fight as Prophet, the nanosuit soldier on a quest to save the world in Crysis 3. Set in a frightening vision of our future, New York as we know it is no longer, the entire city encased in a giant nanodome, turning the once bustling Big Apple into a dense rainforest filled with huge overgrown trees. And it's your mission to navigate the strange new forest metropolis to find out just who's behind this and what they stand to gain from it. New in this installment, look out for a multiplayer mode called Hunter, where a team of 2 hunters with invisibility cloaks take on waves of cell operatives to try to stop them from reaching the evacuation point.
Target down.
Take down a cell soldier and he swaps over to the hunters, tipping the scales. Pretty interesting. Packed with ton of action, look out for Crysis 3 when it releases in February next year. And to end things off, we check in with a game that's been on everyone's lips since it was first unveiled at this year's E3. A third-person stealth action adventure, this is Remember Me. In the game, players control Nilin, a memory hunter who's on a quest to restore her own memory. Now new in this latest look, a brand new feature called the Combo Lab, a system which allows players to build and customize their own combos for use in battle. And when it comes to choice, There's certainly no shortage, with the game boasting some 50,000 unique fighting styles to choose from. So, pretty interesting take on third-person melee combat, and something we really haven't seen before. Due for release in May next year, look out for Remember Me.
And on that hormonally charged high, unfortunately, we're going to have to love you and leave you because we are done with yet another episode of Game. If you want to catch up on some past episodes, we've got them up at espnstar.com/game. And also, you know what they say, communication is key. So hit us up for links or a chat at facebook.com/ESSGame. Or if you've got something you need off your chest in 140 characters or less, we're also at ESS Game on Twitter. So get with the program. Till next week, guys, this is Paula signing off. Keep your game face on.